The invitation was never meant to be kind, it was meant to be cruel. The CEO wife smiled as she sent it, already imagining the laughter. A black cleaning lady, brought into a room full of wealthy guests. Not to be honored, not to be thanked, but to be mocked. People whispered before she even arrived. Glasses clinked, phones were ready. Some came only to watch her be embarrassed. They expected a woman who would bow her head. A woman who would stay silent. A woman who would accept the shame. But when the door finally opened, when her footsteps echoed across the marble floor, something felt wrong. The laughter died. The smiles vanished. And in that frozen moment, everyone realized this was not the joke they thought it would be. Her name was Naomi Carter. She was 28 years old. Every morning before sunrise, Naomi tied her hair back, put on worn gloves, and stepped into buildings that never truly welcomed her. She cleaned offices where people looked through her, hallways where her reflection never seemed to belong, floors that shined even though her life felt dull and invisible. Naomi was black, and in this city, that truth followed her everywhere. She grew up in a small apartment with her mother, who worked double shifts until her body finally gave up. Naomi learned early that life was unfair, that silence was safer than speaking, that survival came before pride. She cleaned because cleaning paid the bills, because cleaning kept the lights on, because cleaning meant dignity, even when others tried to take it away. But dignity did not protect her from whispers, from stares, from the way people tightened their grip on purses when she passed. At work, she heard comments meant to sound like jokes. "You're lucky to have a job. You people are good with your hands." She swallowed every word. Every insult, every quiet humiliation. Naomi believed something simple. If she worked hard enough, stayed kind enough, stayed invisible enough, the world might eventually leave her alone. Then one evening, her supervisor handed her an envelope. A private cleaning request, high pay, luxury address. Naomi hesitated. Something about it felt strange, but rent was due, medicine was expensive, and saying no was a privilege she didn't have. She accepted, not knowing she was walking into a room where her humanity would be tested. The house was massive, glass walls, white floors, gold accents. It belonged to Evelyn Whitmore, the wife of a powerful CEO whose name appeared on magazine covers and business news. Evelyn was known for hosting exclusive gatherings, parties where wealth was celebrated, where status was everything. Naomi arrived early, as instructed. The moment she stepped inside, eyes turned, not with warmth. With judgment. Some guests paused mid-conversation. Others stared openly. A few smiled, but not kindly. Evelyn noticed her immediately. She scanned Naomi from head to toe, not like a person, like an object. Naomi was directed to wait in the corner. No explanation, no greeting. Minutes passed, then more. Guests began to whisper. Naomi caught fragments. Is she lost? Why is she here? Oh, that's the cleaner. A soft laugh followed. Naomi kept her hands folded, her eyes down. She told herself it would pass. It always did. But Evelyn wasn't done. She raised her voice just enough for the room to hear, commenting on how help should learn their place. How some people were lucky to be allowed into such spaces. The room reacted with awkward chuckles, silence from those who disagreed, comfort from those who didn't care. Naomi felt the heat rise in her chest. Her heart pounded, her throat tightened. She thought of her mother, of long nights of survival. She stayed quiet. Then Evelyn suggested a toast, a joke, something fun. She gestured toward Naomi, introduced her as a cleaning lady who should be grateful for the opportunity to be seen. Phones lifted, eyes widened. The humiliation was public now. Naomi's ears rang, her hands trembled. This wasn't subtle anymore. This was deliberate. She wanted to disappear, to leave, to run, but she didn't. She stood still. Inside her, years of silence collided. Years of swallowed pain pressed against her chest. She remembered every insult, every door closed, every time she was told she was less. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Evelyn waited for laughter, for applause. It didn't come. Instead, something unexpected happened. Naomi lifted her head, just slightly. The movement was small, but it changed everything. Guests noticed. The room leaned in. Naomi took a breath she had been holding for years. She wasn't supposed to speak. She wasn't supposed to exist beyond the role assigned to her, but she did, and she was done being invisible. Naomi stepped forward. The sound of her shoes against the marble floor echoed louder than any voice in the room. Evelyn frowned, confused, annoyed. This wasn't part of the plan. Naomi stopped in the center. She stood tall, shoulders back, eyes steady. She didn't shout. She didn't insult. She didn't beg. She spoke calmly. She explained who she was, where she came from, how she worked harder than most people in that room ever had to. She talked about dignity, about respect, about being treated as human. Every sentence landed like weight. Guests shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away. Others listened closely. Naomi revealed the truth. She wasn't there by accident. She had been invited as entertainment, as a joke. Her voice didn't shake, but tears filled her eyes. She described the pain of being reduced to a stereotype, of being mocked for survival, of standing in rooms where her presence was treated as a mistake. Silence spread, phones lowered, smiles disappeared. Then Naomi said the words that froze the room. She had recorded everything, the invitation, the comments, the humiliation, not for revenge, for proof. Evelyn's face drained of color. Guests realized they were witnesses now, not spectators. The power shifted. What was meant to be a joke became exposure. Naomi didn't ask for apology. She didn't ask for approval. She simply asked one question: how would you feel? If this was your daughter, no one answered, because there was no answer that could undo what had just been revealed. The room fell completely silent, not out of shock alone, but out of shame. Naomi walked out with her head high. She didn't wait for permission. The story didn't end that night. The recording spread, quietly at first. Then everywhere, people saw the truth, not a joke, not a misunderstanding, but cruelty wrapped in privilege. Evelyn faced consequences. Social, professional, public. Doors closed for her the way they had always closed for Naomi. But Naomi's life changed too. She was invited to speak, not as entertainment, but as a voice. Organizations reached out. Communities listened. She didn't become famous overnight. She didn't become rich. But she became something more powerful. Seen, heard, respected. Naomi kept cleaning for a while, because work is honest, and dignity doesn't disappear when the world finally pays attention. But now, when she walked into rooms, she walked in differently. Not smaller, not silent, stronger. Her story became a reminder that racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it invites you inside, just to laugh at you, and that silence protects injustice. But truth exposes it. If this story moved you, don't stay silent. Stories like Naomi's happen every day, in homes, in workplaces, in rooms where people think no one is watching, like this video, to stand against injustice. Subscribe to support voices that deserve to be heard. Share this story so someone else knows they are not alone, because dignity is not a privilege, it is a right. And together, we make sure silence is never an option again.